The whole reason people picked Android over iPhone, the actual selling point was that you could install whatever you wanted on it. No asking permission, no approval process, just download an APK and run it. Your phone, your rules. Google is changing that, and they're calling it a security future. A thing that made Android different, you could install APKs from anywhere. Google has decided that's a problem now. Alright. Starting September 2026, first in Brazil, Indonesia, Singapore, and Thailand, then globally in 2027, Google is requiring every app developer to verify their identity with Google, not just for apps on the Play Store, for any app, even ones that never go near the Play Store, even a free tool some person made in their bedroom and put it on GitHub. To get verified, developers need to create an Android Developer Console account. That's a $25 fee, a government-issued ID, and a verified phone number. Organizations have to go even further. Business registration documents, a verified website, the works. Now, what happens to apps from developers who didn't do this? Who didn't register, didn't pay the fee, didn't hand over their ID? When a user tries to install that app, they get hit with a full screen warning. Scary design, official looking, making it seem like something dangerous is happening. The install button is hidden. Not gone, hidden. You have to dig for it. In some cases, there's a mandatory 24-hour waiting period before the app even opens. It's not a ban, technically. You can still install it, you just have to find a hidden button, wait a day, and feel like you're doing something illegal for an app that is completely free and legal. Google is calling this an accountability layer, not a ban, an accountability layer, which is true. It's not technically a ban, it's just built in a way where most normal people are going to hit that warning screen and go, okay, never mind. That's the point, that's the design. They said so themselves, it's a high friction flow. High friction meaning hard on purpose. Google's justification is a stat from their own blog. Side-loaded apps have 50 times more malware than apps from the Play Store. And honestly, that's probably real. Random APKs from a random websites are genuinely risky. I'm not going to argue with that. But here's where it gets interesting. The timing of this. In 2024, Epic Games sued Google over the Play Store, and they won. The court ruled that Google had to allow competing app stores on Android, so Google had to open up. They had no choice, a court told them to. And then almost immediately after, they announced this verification system, which makes installing apps from outside the Play Store so painful that most people just won't do it. Google is technically complying with the court order. Rival app stores are allowed now. You just have to get through a full screen warning, a hidden button, and sometimes a 24-hour wait to use them. So, complying. They get to tell regulators we're open. Anyone can make an app store. And they get to tell their shareholders, don't worry, nobody's actually going to use them. And one more thing about that 50x stat, Google says sideload apps are 50 times more likely to have malware. What they don't say clearly is that's apps from random internet sources, sketchy websites, not F-Droid, not trusted developer communities, not open source tools on GitHub. Lumping all of that together and calling it sideloading is doing a lot of work in that statistic. Let me be clear what I'm actually arguing here, because I don't want it to sound like I'm just anti-security. Security warnings, fine, completely fine. Tell people this app is from a verified source, here are the risks, do you want to continue? That's useful, that's honest, that respects the user. What Google is building is something different. It's not a warning, it's a system deliberately engineered so that most people give up before they get through it. There's a difference between informing someone and designing a process to exhaust them until they stop trying. Think about Windows for a second. On a Windows computer, you download a software from anywhere, a random developer's website, GitHub, wherever. You might get a pop-up saying this is from an unknown publisher, are you sure? And then you click yes and it runs. That's it. No Microsoft account required, no government ID, no 24-hour wait, no registration fee. You own a Windows computer and you decide what runs on it. At least for now. Your Android phone is also a computer. You bought it, you paid for it, it sits in your pocket. The only difference is that Google decided they get to control what runs on it. And they've been slowly tightening that control for years. A warning says, here's the risk. your choice. What Google is building says, here's the risk. And also, we made the button really hard to find and there's a 24-hour wait. And are you sure? And maybe think about it. And honestly, just don't. That is not protecting you. That is deciding for you. Let's talk about who this actually protects and who it actually hurts. Because it's not the same group. The scammers this is supposedly targeting, the people tricking users into installing fake bank apps, fake delivery apps, they're not doing it through GitHub APKs or F-Droid. They're doing it through WhatsApp messages, phone calls, fake customer service links, social engineering, none of which this policy touches. Scammers will find workarounds. They always have. This slows them down for maybe a month. Who doesn't find a workaround? The hobbyist developer who built a useful free app and shared it on Reddit. The open source contributor on F-Droid who doesn't want to hand their government ID to Google just to share a tool that costs nothing. The person in a country where Google's verification process doesn't work properly, or submitting that kind of documentation to a foreign corporation feels genuinely uncomfortable. Small developers who built apps that Google Play Store policies wouldn't approve anyway. Not because they're malicious, but because they compete with Google's own product. It protects the people who weren't really at risk from this and does almost nothing for the people who actually were. So what can you actually do about this? Let's be real about the options. If you're technical enough, Graphene OS and Lineage OS are custom Android operating systems that these restrictions simply don't apply to them. Graphene OS in particular is genuinely excellent for privacy, but it's not for everyone. You need to know what you're doing and you need a supported device. If that sounds like you, it's worth looking into. F-Droid is an open source app store that operates completely outside of Google. Free apps, verified open source, no Google involvement. Worth knowing about even if you stay on a regular Android phone for now. And there's also people actively pushing back on this. F-Droid, Nextcloud, and all those under the Keep Android Open campaign. If you care about this issue, that's where the organized resistance is happening. And if you're a developer who distributes apps outside the Play Store, the deadline is September 2026 for the first regions. You need to be thinking about this now, not then. Knowing this is happening matters, because most people don't. And things like this tend to get worse quietly. I want to be clear, I'm not saying Google can't make security decisions. I'm not saying sideloading has no risks. It does. What I'm saying is there's a difference between informing your users and controlling them. Android was supposed to be the open alternative, the one where you owned your device and decided what ran on it. That's been slowly changing, and this is the biggest step yet. It's worth paying attention to. That's really all I wanted to say. It's your phone. You should probably have some say in what runs on it.